Greetings, my name is Anias Pullen, and today I will be showcasing my mini-games project for project programming. This is a simple program that allows a user to launch three different games: ping pong, snake, and brick breaker, as well as navigate the left menu to see the game instructions and controls or read about a little bit about the program. This was created using Java and NetBeans GUI tools, and the three separate games were created using Eclipse. First, we have the snake game. Right here is our main method, which has an instance of our game frame, which has the parameters for the frame that will appear in the middle of the screen. And right here is our game panel with the majority of our code. Starting at the top, besides our imports, we have the starting variables, which includes the dimensions of the screen, 600 by 600. And what this does is allow Snake Game to have a grid, which will be divided in units that of a size of 25, and an array of X and Y, which houses the X and Y coordinates, will iterate a snake throughout the array, to which a user will be able to control it using the WASD keys, and it will check for collisions between the snake and the apple or the four borders. And that's basically how snake works. Um, and of course, it will be shown in the draw method. When the game is run, a snake with the starting units of six will appear on the screen, with the user being able to move it throughout to try to catch the apples. And the new apples method allows the apples to appear randomly on the screen, and every time the snake gets an apple, it will appear randomly somewhere else. In the move method, it will shows that the snake does increase throughout the array by one, for the for loop to iterate throughout it. And of course, we have our controls WASD. And every time a snake eats the apple, the score increases by one, and it is shown in the top right corner of the screen. And then check collisions method checks whether the snake collides with any of the borders right here, which would make running equal false, meaning the game is over. Or if the snake collides with its own body, the game will also be over if that does happen, to which the timer will stop. And when the game is over, this will display game over with your score in the top right corner of the screen. And of course, we do have our key listeners for the user to be able to control the snake. Next, we have the ping pong game, our main method with the instance of the game frame, which does have our parameters as well for this, and our majority of the code being in the Pong game panel. We have our starting dimensions at the top of the screen, as well as variables for the loop that was used in this game. And how ping pong works is there's a two-player game, the one on the left and right, which they'll be able to control using WS keys or the up and down arrows. And their goal is to deflect the paddle or deflect the ball in the opposite direction to prevent the other player from scoring. The ball will deflect whether it touches the paddles, which it would increase its speed, or the top and right borders, or the top and bottom borders. But if it were to touch the left and right borders, past the paddles, that means the opposing player will receive a score of one, which is displayed on the top of the screen. And this game is a constant loop, so it will reset every time, and then the new ball and new paddles method will be redrawn on the screen using the draw and repaint methods. The check collision checks where the ball collides with. If it collides with paddles or the top and bottom, its X or Y direction will deflect in its opposite direction. It will be negative, basically. And if well, yes, basically. So when it touches the left and right borders, player two or player one will increase the score, and everything will be redrawn, and the game will reset. This is also used using a simple game loop that was found in the ping pong guide that I used from Minecraft, basically, that allows the program to run at a constant 60 ticks per second. And the move method is used to make sure that everything runs smoothly since the ball increases its speed every time it touches the paddles. And in the score method, we have our score being drawn on the top center of the screen, divided by a line, and shown in two digits for both players. Our ball method has our ball being drawn on the screen, as well as the directions for the x and y velocity with an initial speed of 3 that does increase every time it touches the paddles. And our paddles are being drawn in the paddle class. I meant class, not method. To which, of course, our key press, whenever WS is pressed, W meaning the paddle on the left will go up, and S meaning it will go down. Or on the right, up and down, up and down. Um, and of course, when they're released, the paddle won't be moving. And this is basically the ping pong game. Lastly, I created Brick Breaker um, with our main method here, which I included the J-frame parameters in here with the main method, and our game panel, which has a majority of the code for Brick Breaker, which is a more simpler game than the rest. The ball in here isn't randomized on the screen, but you have a paddle that you control at the bottom, which deflects the ball somewhere onto the screen, which is also deflected by the top left and right borders in order to break the 21 blocks shown on the screen in a 7 by 3 map. And because it is not randomized, the positions will always be constant here every time the game restarts. And of course, we have all of our things being drawn in the paint method, which includes the yellow borders, which are shown on the sides that you can deflect on, as well as the paddle and the ball. And this will be shown when the total number of bricks are broken by the ball equaling 0, and you've won, and it will allow you to press enter to restart. But if the ball goes past 570 in the Y position, meaning it has touched the bottom border past the paddle, then you've lost, and you will be allowed to restart by pressing enter. And of course, this will be shown in the action performed method um, to basically check for intersections for the paddle and throughout the map. When it has seen that the ball has touched any of the bricks in the map, the brick will disappear and the score will increase by 5. But if it were to touch the left, right, and top borders, the ball will go into the opposite direction to either touch a different brick or to go down for the paddle to catch it. And every time playing is not true, meaning that you weren't able to catch the paddle, or you weren't able to catch the ball with the paddle, then everything is reset onto the map. And our map class is shown here. Basically, what was used to create the map was a 2D array, which has the blocks drawn on the top middle of the screen, and a 21 size grid that's 3 by 7 with strokes drawn in between it to separate the blocks. And that is basically Brick Breaker game. So these were all combined into the new J-frame. And once they were built into an executable jar file, a user can basically open the file and they'll be able to play the game. So you can, of course, launch ping pong, which is 2 players. As you can see, the ball is increasing in speed and being deflected onto the right side. But if I weren't able to score, then yellow will increase in a point and it resets. We also have Snake, which is a 1-player game in which the snake will be able to iterate throughout the array and grab the apples. But if I were to collide, it would be game over. And then Brick Breaker, which, as you can see, there are yellow borders, and of course the map is drawn at the top, in which the bricks will disappear every time they're hidden, and if the paddle doesn't get the brick or the ball, the game would restart. And this is basically my program. I want to thank again the guides that I used, which are shown in the program description. So thank you for listening to this.